It's Lori, and yes, you are heading into week 3. Congratulations, welcome. We're talking here, you see I have celebrations. Part of this is if you've just made the changes, but you don't feel you're seeing results yet, be patient, trust the process, post on our group, talk on our group. Believe me, everything you're experiencing has been experienced before, and so we can all help each other that way, right? Somebody's gone through it. So just let us know what's going on for you, right? Whether you've lost weight or you've just stuck with the program and you're not seeing results yet, all of those things in a sense are celebrations, right? And so I just want to let you know that you're the one, right? You be honest with yourself. If you've made it through the week, really working on the one small change, or if you didn't, just hang in there and go back and make that one work again. Remember, the goal is as we go into every new week, you don't let go what we added in week, the change for week 1 and week 2. You keep at those ones. You continue doing those, putting them more solid into your routine, right? They're becoming natural for you. You don't actually have to work at them, but you keep doing those things as you add in a change. Okay? So last week, you were to start a food journal. Now, it was a specific one about what you ate, when you eat it, how much of it you ate, and how you were feeling. You were also in week 2 to start 2 skinny per day. If you are either testing this or if you do have your case, right, skinny is going to give you a great boost, especially in terms of your metabolism and so many other things. So really great if you haven't started skinny or you just want more information about it, get with your coach. And then we wanted to see 1 day of your eating, right? 1 day of your calories. How much were you? One of the reasons is, again, I'll just quickly repeat it, is that when people think they need to lose weight, they cut calories way back, which is the quantity, but then they're also cutting back nutrition. So their bodies are nutritionally starving. And that's not good to have your body start burning fat. Doesn't work that way. That's not what we're doing here, okay? So that's just a quick review of last week. Week 3. All right, we're going to talk about increasing metabolism with the right fuel. You learned what metabolism was last week, and we talked about quantity and quality of the food and how we need to do a little bit of both, right? So your journal insight should be giving you some idea now on the quantity that you're eating, right? And when I talk about seeing sometimes some of you at 800 calories a day, like honestly, nobody should be below 1,500 calories. If you're a very petite person, depending on how much you weigh, maybe you'd be eating slightly lesser than 1,500 calories. But for most people, that's like, are you kidding me? I've never eaten that much in my life. Well, I can tell you it's one of the reasons you don't lose weight is because you've totally put your metabolism probably at 0, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is burning really well and you're a lean person. 0 is overweight and you're not burning any calories. Pretty much everything you eat gets turned to fat because your body stores it, right? Which we talk a little bit about that today. But we're going to talk more about today the quality. What kinds of foods are you choosing? Because there are specific foods that are going to help your metabolism as well. And I've talked about this, right? You don't put pop in the gas tank of your Porsche. So the amazing thing about our body is it'll still run when you put junk in the fuel tank, right? It still goes, but it really works too hard. And you notice it by less energy. Maybe you're not sleeping well. Maybe your joints hurt. All of that is part of the quality of the food that you eat. So we're going to learn about fuel sources or food sources that increase metabolism most effectively, right? What are they? So what do we eat to increase metabolism? The first time you fill your gas tank in the morning, right, is your breakfast. And as you can see, it's like break your fast, right? I said in week 1, when you get up in the morning, you're a prune, you're dehydrated, and you've also been fasting. There's been no energy in the tank, so your metabolism has slowed down. Now you need to switch it on, right? And that happens with a little bit of water that you give it right away in the morning, but you also need to feed it. And let's say a typical Western Hemisphere breakfast, what do we know as breakfast foods? Mm-hmm. Right? One of my favorite are those pancakes on the end, right? Just, I could have eaten pancakes 5 times a day, right? Sometimes I probably did when I was in my overeating and binging period, right? But toast and cereal and even juice, right? Those are typical Western breakfasts. But let's talk about increasing metabolism. So, and now I've kind of added on the end, you can see I put some cottage cheese in there, and we'll talk a little bit about why I've got it in here as well as a reason. Okay, but these sources of fuel, we're going to learn what they are. They cause insulin, which is a hormone, to be dumped into your blood in great amounts. Every time you eat, you need some insulin put into your blood. And insulin comes in because it is the caretaker of sugar in our blood. It comes and helps, takes care of the sugar that comes into our blood. The more sugar put into the blood by what you eat, the more insulin that comes along. Now, when insulin comes in to take care of the sugar, fat in our bloodstream that's floating around, that could be used up and burned up, it doesn't like to be there when insulin is doing its work, and insulin doesn't like it around either. So fat gets shot back into the fat cells. So it sits there, doesn't get burned up because insulin has to come and take care of all the sugar in the blood. So these foods here, this is not how you want to start your day. You don't want to start your day by telling your body to send all the fat back into the fat cells. Fat is floating around in our blood for a reason. It's there to be burned up as energy. But when sugar comes along, that the body actually recognizes it as something quite dangerous, that it has insulin come along to help take care of it, right? And so it'll use that sugar up first. It'll take care of all of that, and it puts that fat away. Okay, what do you eat to fire up your metabolism? So what should we eat if this isn't what we should be having? What we've known for years are breakfast foods. Okay, we need to talk a little bit about food groups and which of the food groups cause the least insulin response, because then that's the least fat storage. So what are the food groups? We have meat and meat alternatives. We have grains. There are how many food groups? There are 5 food groups here, okay? Then we have fats and oils. We have dairy. Now you can see eggs are both in dairy and protein, right? Kind of crosses over. And then we've got fruits and vegetables, right? Sometimes you'll actually see, like in meat there, you've got nuts, and then those other things are like kidney beans, like those are your lentils or your pulses, beans. But nuts are sometimes in as well the fat category, because yes, they contain protein, but they also contain a high amount of fat. They're one of those foods that's very, very high in calories, but also high in nutrition. So you don't want to eat a lot of that when you're in the fat loss game. Okay, so which of the food groups causes the least insulin response? Well, if you think back to the pictures of all those things that I had down there as typical Western breakfast, what food groups are they made up of? Well, the toast, the muffin, the pancakes, that all comes from the grains food group. The cottage cheese comes from the dairy food group. Although there's protein in it, it comes from dairy. And there's something very specific about dairy, is that it contains a sugar called lactose. So yes, it does have protein, but it also comes along with sugar. So that has a very specific reaction in our body as well. And then, of course, there was the fruit juice, which is from your fruits and vegetable category. But the one thing about it is it's all the vitamins and minerals and all the sugar in the fruit. All the fiber has been taken out of that fruit juice, right? So we've got these 3 categories here that cause a higher insulin response than fats or proteins. Interesting, right? Because lots of people will think, don't eat too much meat and cut out all the fat in your diet. So this is one of those things where I'm actually going to say to you, what's your point of view on this? Is that your belief? Is that what you've been told for years? For many people it is. And I'm going to be telling you now, can you put that down and pick up another belief and test it out, in that you're going to have to eat more protein. You might even have to eat more fat in your diet, but less of this, less of dairy, grains, and maybe even less fruit. Okay? We'll come back to all of that, especially if you want to stop storing fat. Okay, so increasing metabolism. Protein prevents large insulin surges, right? There's a picture of a beautiful source of protein called Fuel. That's one of our Nutri products. There's 30 grams of protein in there. We're going to learn a little bit more about the amount of protein that you have to eat. Right now we're talking about the quality of the food, and we're talking about protein. But you can also get your meats, right, to get your protein, right? This is what we want. Protein creates a higher metabolic tax. Yes, a very good tax. You actually feel satisfied longer. There's a chemical response that happens in your body that goes to your brain when you eat protein, that it tells your brain you're full, right? That's science. That's been documented. Can't argue with that, okay? Protein tells your brain you're full. Very cool, right? What about that metabolic tax? Well, what it means is your body works harder to digest protein, meat versus, let's say, a piece of bread. And so you actually use up more energy in your body to digest that meat. So it's a higher metabolic tax on your body. It's a good thing, really good thing, right? So how taxing is protein, right? This is very cool. It's from a book called The Paleo Diet by Lauren Cordain, PhD. He says here, over 6 months, so you have no increase in exercise or a decrease in calories. Okay, so no increase in exercise, but then a decrease in calories, so you don't change the amount you're eating. But you have a higher protein diet, so you change the quality with more protein, could cause you to lose 10 to 15 pounds, right, over 6 months. Now, take those same 6 months, add a little bit of exercise in, somewhat decrease calories. So now we've adjusted the quantity, but you're also changing the protein, more protein, so the quality. You could lose 30 to 75 pounds in those 6 months. That's substantial, right? Substantial. And Dr. David Heber here, he wrote a book called The LA Shape Diet. And he's won numerous awards as a doctor for his research in helping people lose weight and nutrition, right? And he says to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight every day. So if I weigh 150 pounds, I would eat 150 grams of protein. Okay, so that's going to become very important for us to pay attention to. Okay, so what do we got here? We have some food journals that we're looking at. So here we have coffee and Bailey's in the morning. So what food group does that come from? Kind of nothing. Bailey's might be a little bit of dairy, but there's lots of sugar in it. So this person had some sugar right off the bat in the morning. Probably, started her body on a little bit of fat burning. Then she had a Nutri-Fuel at 10:30, so she did put some protein in her body. She exercised. She had a skinny a little later. We don't know all the times of this. Then she had a liter of water. Now, that's kind of 4 cups of water at once, which is kind of a lot. I'd have preferred she had some water earlier in the day and spread it out. Now we've got a time here. So then 12:30, so that's 2 hours later, she had 2 hard-boiled eggs. Good. Drank another liter of water. Again, 4 cups of water all at one time. It's kind of like eating a whole bunch of food at one time. It's kind of not how your body works. So that was good. She had protein again. Now here we have rice crackers, which would come from grains, and some artichoke dip, which has probably got some fats in it, the fat. So she had grains and fat and vegetable with the artichoke. Not terrible, but would have been nice if there'd have been some protein there. Then a glass of wine. Now, wine would be, of course, fruits, but it's because of the processing of wine, it's a lot of sugar. Okay, she had later on some steak, now a half. We don't really know then how much steak that was in terms of grams that she ate or how many ounces. She had some rice, okay, small, I'm assuming a quarter cup of white rice. So that's grains. and a Greek salad. So, then she had protein again, vegetables, and some grains. Another glass of wine, more sugar. Another liter of water. And then a little later, some popcorn, which is your grains. Okay? So, again, spreading the water out a little bit would make more sense. Not sure if she did drink all at once, but we'd probably change this right off the bat in the morning. Take that sugar away, right? Depends how long ago, depends what time that was and when she had this. Okay, so here's another one. So 8 a.m. was a boiled egg and some cake. So that's probably like not so great. Got a little bit of protein, but I know that's about like 9 grams. Okay, then a snack, this like Tim Hortons tea and a donut. So that's a lot of fat storage. She's storing a lot of fat there. Okay, a croissant. Again, that's all your grains and breads. Ham and cheese, kind of processed probably, so not so great. Potato soup, so there'd be some fat and more carbohydrate, or the like that potatoes, I know vegetables, but they're very starchy, so a little more sugar in them. And then a glass of orange juice, lots of sugar right there, lots of sugar at that time. Then here she had nothing nutritious. She had a Coke Zero. Later on in the day, ginger cookie and some tea, more sugar. Then at 9 o'clock at night, now so this was like 5 hours later, some veggie snacks, veggie sticks, which are probably like processed, pretty high in fat, had water and had dumplings. Something about felt guilty, yeah. Felt guilty when writing this, yeah. So, and here again, more starches, so more fat storage. So this day here was a ton of storing fat, not a lot of burning that fat up, right, when we look at this one, okay? Here, so 7 a.m., so there was a Nutri-Fuel cup of tea. A little later in the morning, skinny. So at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., this person had fish, cabbage, spinach. There's a little bit of crumbled bacon, which is fat, avocado, a little more fat, lemon juice and olive oil, a little more fat again. So here we had vegetables, protein, and fats. So not a lot of insulin being dumped into the blood there, right? And here, protein right away off the bat. This is a good fat burning start to your day. Okay, later 1:30, 6 ounces of chicken, some mashed cauliflower, again some butter, and some sweet potato. So veggies here, a little bit of starches, a little more sugar, but fat and vegetables and chicken. Not a lot of fat storage there, still doing a lot of fat burning. Mid-afternoon skinny, and then one of the other Nutri products called Energy. Later on was a fuel, so more protein there. And then later in the evening, 7 ounces of elk, so this person's eating some wild meat, 1.5 cups of broccoli, more sweet potato, and then there was a cup of frozen Saskatoon berries with some coconut milk. So this day, every time this person ate, except here, the 9 a.m. skinny and the 4 p.m. fuel, this person ate protein. That is revving up this person's metabolism, making it burn, and causing this person to feel very full and satiated. Probably no cravings here throughout the day. Very little sugar taken in this day, right? This is a great day. Not typical what you see people eating, right? But you know what? Lean people eat like this, okay? So that might have opened your eyes a little bit. Okay, so we need to talk now just a little bit more about protein. Okay, we talk about the amount here to get 25 grams of protein that you're eating. And usually we talk about 25 grams of protein because that's what the body is able to absorb at one time. In my reading and my learning, I have a naturopath physician. I read her book, Dr. Natasha Turner, the carb sensitivity book. She recommends for women you can eat 30 to 35 grams of protein at one sitting. Men could be 40 to 45 grams at one sitting. So then at like a little bit higher, okay? But that's why I've got 25 grams of protein. What do you have to eat? And then I've got the calories. Okay, so we're looking at quantity in calories and the quality in the protein. So, of course, the NutriFuel has 30 grams of protein already. So that's kind of nice. It's over the 25, and it's 170 calories. Egg whites, you need 5 to 7 eggs, like just the egg whites, to get 25 grams of protein. If you're eating eggs, 4 whole eggs, this is maybe 3 would get you about 27 grams of protein. But look at the calories; they sure jump up, right? 320 calories. Now, low-fat yogurt. So here we've got cottage cheese and then some tofu. You know, like low-fat yogurt, 2 cups. Who eats 2 cups of yogurt to get right that amount of protein? Or low-fat cottage cheese, it's 1 cup of yogurt, 1 cup of the cottage cheese you have to eat. It's a lot. The tofu. Then we've got our meats, so turkey, chicken, salmon, some tuna, some bison, some lean beef, all 4 ounces. So if you have this little scale, you measure it cooked, right? 4 ounces would give you 25 grams of protein. That's also like the size of your palm, not your fingers, just that the round part of your palm, and about that thickness. Okay, it's not a lot, but that's about 4 ounces. That gives you 25 grams of protein. Then at the bottom, look, you move down to quinoa, then your nuts, peanut butter, and then they've got lentils. Now, quinoa, you have to eat 2 cups. Quinoa it's really the seed of a fruit, but it's kind of like a rice in a sense. But I want you to go over and look at the calories in those last 4. 500, 600, 600, 345. They're highly nutritious, but they're highly caloric, right? So in the weight loss game, you do have to pay attention to how many calories you're taking in, but the quality of the food as well. So I'm just saying, right, and almonds, you have to eat 3/4 of a cup of almonds to get your 25 grams of protein, and it is 621 calories. You just don't want to do that when you're trying to lose weight. So this is showing you some of your protein sources. So where you want to spend your time is in here, right? And the reason I talk about the dairy part is because, again, dairy comes with the sugar called lactose. Protein from the protein food group has no sugar in it. Okay, but dairy will always have that little bit of sugar in the lactose. And sometimes the lactose is what causes people gut problems, right? They have digestive issues with that. And if you do take it out of your diet for a while, you might notice a lot of the bloating and the gassy gut goes away, right? The NutriFuel, great. Your eggs, your egg whites, if eggs don't bother you, right? Pretty good sources of your protein. And we're learning how important protein is to boost metabolism, stop cravings, just like skinny does. Okay. All right, we'll move in now to that automatic mind building. So there's 2 goals that I want you to achieve here in these next few weeks together. I want you to gain some knowledge about the science of your body, to understand when you put a certain type of fuel in your body, what it does, what happens in the chemistry of your body, right? Sometimes when you know that, it's easy to avoid a food. It certainly is for me. Number 2, I do want you to take back the power that you have given food in your life. And some of you are kind of going, yeah, well, I've never done that. You know, and great, maybe you haven't. I certainly know for me, I gave up a lot of things that were super important to me for food, for the love of my food, right? Things like being honest with myself, learning to be confident. I stole all that from me because I wasn't, I was a closet eater, right? And then I would beat myself up, right? And I really disliked myself, so I gave way too much power to food in my life. Here's as you're thinking this week and you're using your food journal, what do you believe about being healthy? And sometimes it ends up becoming our most powerful excuse or barrier to get over. And one of the things for me was I certainly believed to be healthy, I had to exercise. Okay, but then because I exercised, that was like my license then to eat more. Like it was crazy. So, yes, I believed I had to exercise, but then I used it as an excuse to eat things that were less healthy for me or to eat more of something, right? And even if you're eating really good quality food, but you always eat too much of it, you'll gain weight. So, yes, I truly believed exercise was important, but then it also became a huge handicap for me, right? So, think about those things for yourself. You might discover something, right? And are you willing to let it go? For me, when I realized just fueling properly, and more for me, it was eating the right amount of food. I did have to change some of the foods I was eating, really learned how to stay away from sugar, right? But are you willing to let that belief go? Okay. This week, here we go into week 3. Protein. It's a big thing. This week, you're going to break your fast with protein. So you have to have protein for breakfast. Now, that might mean you need to have some things prepared. I don't care, but I want you to eat protein for breakfast. And it would be best if you could do it 30 minutes after waking up, not this 2 hours, right? So that's just the one thing to focus on this week, okay? Breaking your fast with protein, so good protein at breakfast from the protein food group if you can. Maybe a few times a week you do the simple thing, which is just grab the cottage cheese and eat some cottage cheese, enough to get 25 or 30 grams of protein. But most of these 7 days, I want you choosing from the protein food group. But there's more to it. Only if you can take this on. I do want you to try and eat protein 3 more times every day. So that's a total of 4 times. And I want you to try and get 30 to 40 grams each time. So remember I said if you're eating your meat, well, that size of your palm could be 25. So you just have to have it a little bigger, like half your fingers would give you 30 to 40 grams of protein, just a little bit more. So if eating protein 4 times a day is too much, you must break your fast or have protein at breakfast for sure. Okay, every day this week. Maybe by the end of the week, you've added protein in 3 more times. You're going to have incredible results this week. You're going to experience some really cool things with this change. All right, so introducing some fuel to you. Now, the NutriFuel is very cool. It's got casein and whey. Both are milk proteins. The casein controls your appetite, promotes satiety, which is wonderful, meaning you don't feel hungry. Whey protein is very good for maintaining and building muscle. And what's really cool about our fuel is that it has fiber in it. So it really supports some digestive and intestinal health. And it's apple pectin fiber, making it gluten-free. Really wonderful. This is food for your body. If you're eating, no matter if you're on prescription meds or something, you can use fuel. We don't say that about skinny or energy, but fuel is just food for your body. So let's have a look at, some of you may have powders, right? Powdered protein. Here's a little comparison for you. Fuel is so convenient, ready to drink. You do not have to mix it. There's no blenders and rinsing out the cups. We've got hormone-free protein of very high quality. Now, most proteins, depending on how much you're spending and what you're buying, might not be hormone-free. 2 types of protein in ours and fuel, again, the whey and the casein, which are really important for quickly being absorbed, so you feel great, you notice it right away, and promoting that satiety, you're not hungry, right? Often with the protein powders, you're not getting those 2 different types. So we've got 30 grams in fuel, and sometimes you're getting too little or too much with the protein powders if you're not very, very careful on how you're mixing it. We've only got 2 grams of sugar in our fuel, so watch how much sugar in your protein powders or what type of artificial sweeteners are being used. Gluten-free, our fuel is. Lots of times there's gluten fillers in protein powders. Whoops. Ours tastes really good. If you use protein powders, maybe you're used to it now, but I just wonder if the first time you ever took it, was it chalky? It didn't usually mix up too well unless you really, really blended it. Our fuel is so delicious tasting, right? And again, recycle the cans, right? The protein powders can just be messy, always washing things up. Some protein powders do cause digestive issues for people. Our fuel has been amazing, again, because it's an isolate protein. And part of what that means is a lot of the lactose has been removed. The lactose is the sugar in dairy that can cause people gut issues. So it's very, very low lactose, our fuel. And that's wonderful for people's guts. My sister is very, very sensitive, and she has to take lactose out of her diet. But she, even at that being that sensitive, can take in a half a can of fuel and it doesn't bug her, right? So it's been very good. Okay, so this week, you want to continue boosting your metabolism with Skinny. I should have on here drinking your water. But the new things this week are you're going to eat protein 30 minutes after waking. That's for sure. But if you can add in eating protein 3 more times throughout the day, it's going to be amazing, right? Pack those foods with you, take them with you, and then, get a case of fuel, share it with a friend. Try some of that for the easy convenience. You drink 2 fuels a day, you're getting 60 grams of protein. For a lot of people, that's almost half of what they need. For some of you, it's a third of what you need, okay? You might also think of one excuse or belief that you have, and you might notice it in your journal when it's at work for you, if you are writing how you're feeling. And you can post that maybe on our team page. Let us know about it. And again, probably most of us have dealt with it, so we can help each other, all right? And again, always go to your coach if you have questions, guys. That's what you're doing this week. Please just keep with your coach. Ask us questions. If there's some problems that you have, we're going to help you get through it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. I'm going to shut our webinar down, and I will see you when week 4 is starting up for you. Thanks.